DG, as you know, I am, to say the least, fascinated by food. I spent far too much of the Nick Mangold interview talking to him about barbecue sauce. So with that in mind, the Jets have kindly arranged for the executive performance chef, Jess, and team dietitian, Nici Mense, to join us on the Jets podcast so that I can ask them all about food. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Nici, I need to start with you. It seems quite niche to be a nutritionist. How did you get into the field in the first place?
So growing up, I always played sports. Grew up playing soccer. I have 3 older brothers, and they played all the sports. And I ended up just playing soccer because I think I just wanted to be like them. And so I went to college, Northern Illinois University, and I played soccer there. And I kind of just put 2 and 2 together. I realized how much food affected my performance on the field. And I've always loved sports, and I've always loved food. So it was meant to be.
I'm curious, though, because like you said, you played soccer in college. Was there anybody that you had growing up, and then becoming an athlete yourself that was there to help you out when it came to what you were putting in your body?
So I didn't necessarily have someone there, but my mom from a young age was always like, quote unquote, like a healthy eater. So she would put flaxseed in our pancakes, whether we knew it or not. Would always have like ants on a log when we came home from school for a snack before we went to soccer. So she was always like kind of put that in us to have the healthier choices. Like we didn't have soda or anything in our house growing up. So I kind of think we built our habits from her, and it's kind of just what we were used to at a young age.
Nici, when you say to me that you realize that sport and nutrition go hand in hand, and this was also during your time at college, university to us, does that mean that you were really, really hungover one day trying to play football and it was just not going according to plan? So you thought, I need to sort myself out. You could be honest.
No, definitely not.
That wasn't the case.
Not for me, maybe for some of my teammates, but not for me. I think I realized my workload when I was a freshman, it was just way more than I was used to. So my body changed a lot my freshman year, and I was actually under fueling. So then I realized when I started to fuel properly how much of a difference that actually made on my performance compared to when I was under fueling myself.
Right, so how did you then make this transition into, okay, you know what, I'm interested in this. It ties in with sports, which is something that I certainly am a fan of. Mm-hmm. How does this become your career path then? So
obviously, there are many different career paths that you can take as a dietitian. You can work in a clinical setting. You can do work in large corporations for wellness. You can work in grocery stores, obviously sports. So for me, you always have to go and find a dietetic internship. So I went to Eastern Illinois University, where I did my master's my first year and then my internship my second year. And with the internship, you have mandated rotations that you have to do and complete a certain amount of hours. And there was a rotation where you can kind of pick and do what you want. And I was located in a hospital that had 2 local smaller colleges, and I knew I never wanted to work in a hospital. I knew I never wanted to do food service. Sorry, Jess. And so I knew I always wanted to be in sports. And so I reached out to those small colleges and kind of just did team talks for the women's volleyball team, cross country, just to get my foot in the door and have something on my resume, because it is all about having that experience getting into a collegiate field. And then once I graduated there, passed my exam, and I got my foot in the door at the University of Missouri. And I was a sports dietitian there for my first job.
Mizzou.
Chef
Mizzou.
Jess, I've got to say, you are our 3rd CJ to come on the podcast. We had CJ Mosley and we had CJ Uzoma as well. And now we've got Chef Jess.
I don't know what it is about the CJs, but yeah, it happens. Yeah.
I know. Tell us, what's the difference between cooking in a kitchen for an entire NFL team and, say, maybe working in a restaurant?
So they're very different. So I like to describe our operation as a different restaurant every day. The guys, obviously, at this level have as much flexibility in their monetary values to be able to go and get anything they want. So we kind of have to compete with what's out there against everybody. We want to put out the food that's both something that they desire from, just a comfort standpoint as well as a performance standpoint. So we are very different in that way. Our menu changes every single day, every single meal.
What does the meal prep consist of? Is it just, okay, I'm preparing the meals for when the players are here at the facility, given whatever the time of day is, or are you actually preparing meals meals that they could take home with them, and if they don't feel like cooking or don't know how to cook, and I've put myself in that category, that they can also eat when they're at home and make sure they're eating the right things.
Absolutely. So it's both the meals while they're here as well as when they go home. So they always have those options available to them. And if an athlete here decides that they don't want the grab-and-go options that we've already set up, they can come see me or anybody on my team privately, and we'd be happy to set that up for them. So yeah, lots of opportunity.
And with that, I also work with a place local that does meal prep for the guys outside of here. And some guys have their own personal chefs as well.
Right.
I was going to ask, CJ, have you ever turned a player's request down for food because it's not healthy enough? Have they ever come to you behind the scenes and said, I really want pizza tonight? And you're like, no.
That's more me turning it down.
I'll be honest, I do field a lot of that through Nikki. I was like, well, let me just ask how Nikki feels with your performance plan. But yeah, it's hard to say no sometimes when they want something like that, but we have bigger goals in mind.
Do you find that players are of the picky variety? Because Richie, I'm a very picky eater, you know that. So, like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you could just go with the flow, but sometimes if I don't feel like eating stuff that, let's say, you prepare for the team, I might just come up to you and say, well, you know, I'm kind of in the mood for this or that. Do you have anything else? Like, how willing are you to work with some of these guys who may be a little, you know, out of the norm?
So I am thankful to say that Nikki does field a lot of the pickiness for me. They do feel
Nikki's the bad guy then, essentially.
Yeah, we do have a good cop, bad cop thing going on for sure. The guys are pretty generous with their compliments and stuff at the training table. I will say to my face, they're very happy to be getting whatever they're getting with us, but they will behind the scenes go to Nikki and be like, hey, too much curry lately, so let's just switch that up. And then we're happy to accommodate as well.
You've got 53 players that you work with. Does that mean you need to accommodate different players' food needs for each different position? And in fact, how many are on your team altogether?
How many on the team altogether, Nikki?
I think there's about 70. So we have 53 on the roster and then 16 practice squad players. And then depending on how many guys we have on IR, so give or take 70 to 80, kind of depends on where we're at injury-wise and whatnot.
And then coaches and stuff like that too, right? I mean, it's a big staff, a big family, and everything. So I mean, there is a large quantity of folks that, and they all fall into the same category, pretty much, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
In addition to the coaches and players and support staff, we also have the business operations team that we're feeding daily. So on an average basis, we're feeding between 250 to 300 people every single meal. So there is a lot of accommodation happening to make sure that everybody's satisfied. And with that, we just do a wide variety of options to make sure everyone has something that they enjoy.
Now, Richie, I don't know if you know this, but Nikki also, her husband is involved in sports as well. He is the assistant hitting coach for the Toronto Blue Jays in Major League Baseball. So I'm curious, not we're going to get into how you guys met, all that stuff. Forget that. It's, you know, a different show. But being in sports, both of you, two different sports, and of course, he's up in Canada, but that's only a seasonal job, though. How does that kind of, you know, play off of itself, given that you both work in the same field, essentially, but with two different sports?
So it's interesting because their coaches or assistant GM will reach out to me and ask, like, how I do certain things, like operation or, just in terms of, like, nutrition. Like, because obviously they have a major league team and then they have 6 minor league teams underneath. So they have a head dietitian and then each of the teams have a dietitian. So it's interesting to hear how their day-to-day operation is, and obviously they're playing every single day, so it's completely different than what we're doing here on a daily basis in terms of recovery, fueling for an actual game. Like, our guys are basically going to war on Sundays, and they're casually playing 9 innings of baseball.
Right. Standing out in the sun in the summertime, you know.
Eating seeds in the dugout.
Sunflower seeds, gum, all that stuff.
Exactly. But it's very interesting to kind of just discuss, like, what they're doing, what they're eating, what we're eating here. We talk about that a lot at home.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Would you say that you need to adapt due to the different positions? So a wide receiver wouldn't necessarily have the same meal as, like, a big tackle?
Yes. And I work a lot with our sports scientist, Matt Sams, and the data that he provides to us in terms of each position, but more importantly, each individual's workload that day, whether it be practice or whether it be a game. Because within a position group, you could have somebody that's working way harder than somebody else in that position group. So it's not necessarily a position group that you need to fuel differently. It's actually each individual player that you have to kind of individualize.
Jess, how many chefs are working in the kitchen? Just can't be you yourself.
It's definitely not just me myself. I have an executive sous chef as well as another sous chef, and the three of us plus our food service director, and then we have a team of about 12 to 15 other individuals that make the operation run every day.
Wow, that's huge.
Takes an
And is
army.
One of you, or
It does.
I know, right? Yeah, it does. Is anyone ever responsible for, say, looking at, how do I put this, advances in nutrition? I was going to say technology, but it's actually food at the end of the day. So like superfoods and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think like there's always research coming out day to day, and it's kind of just what's the new fad. And honestly, like you'll have a lot of players after specifically like a Netflix documentary come out that talks about eating just meat or food over four. What's that?
I can't remember. I haven't seen it, but
Any of those documentaries. So there's always nutrition information out there, and it's kind of educating the players on what's actually accurate and what's not, what's educational and what's necessarily not. But yeah, there's new fads out there every single day.
What about games? Like, I'm curious because, like, obviously it's probably easier when there's home games because it's a lot closer in proximity. You guys preparing the food that the players eat, like, to go, let's say, after a game? I see that they have, like, kind of like, to go carry out meals or whatnot. And also the same thing on the road as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and even on the airplane. So I'll do the airplane menus prior to the season starting. So I work with our in-flight coordinator at United to.
Well, Aaron told
pick
us you guys,
those.
they have Chick-fil-A on the plane.
Yes.
I mean, that's
They
a
do.
big one, Rich.
That's their pre-departure meal, and then they have actual meals after that. But yeah, post-game, I work with the operations staff here to do our post-game meals at MetLife, and then on the road, I work with MJ, one of our operation members, and do all the post-game meals.
and then
Now,
No.
sorry, go on.
that's okay.
Sorry.
And then at the hotel, we also set up the menu, so it's the same at every hotel, whether it's away or whether it's home. They have the exact same menu, so they can plan their performance model. And then I'll have a meeting with the chef prior to going out, and then I also go out and then taste test the food. And if it's not seasoned the way that we try to do it here at the facility, we try to get it as close to home as possible so that the guys can know what they're going to expect on the road. And
Excellent.
plan.
Excellent. See, that a lot of planning, Rich, that probably the average fan doesn't even maybe take into account when they're just worrying about a football game.
I bet. That's incredible. But speaking of being like on the road and planes, word on the street is that when you came over to London, you brought your own sauces, condiments, ketchup, mayonnaise with you. We have got Heinz over here. Is it that bad? Like, what's the difference? What's going on?
So, yes. Jess and I worked together, and we shipped not just sauces, but sauces mainly, like 2 months before we went out there. It's just because, like Jess was saying, when we're on the road, like at hotels, we keep the same menu because guys are familiar and they know what they have here, and they're somewhat superstitious. So if they're eating barbecue sauce on their chicken the night before a game, they're going to want to eat that barbecue sauce on their chicken the night before the game, whether we're in Pittsburgh or whether we're in London. So we wanted to make it as familiar as possible for them, and sauces is a big thing for these guys.
And we never know what we're going to run into, so it's also just being an over-prepared. You can never be too over-prepared, right? So one of the things that did come up at the London hotel is we have a very specific gummy bear that they get the night before the game. It's a little treat for them. It's the same everywhere, and I got to run all over town with MJ, taste testing all of your gummy bears to try to find the one that was as close to it as possible. And the guys noticed. They said, where are the gummy bears? And you know what? Unfortunately, we didn't win that game, and I'm just going to blame it on the gummy bears. Okay?
So it was the gummy bears.
It was definitely
all
the
this
gummy
time.
bears.
See, Richie, I would think you would be really good at something like that. Like that is something like Richie on the scene, like finding the optimal gummy bear for the Jets players to have the night before the game.
I'm just picturing the players in the dressing room flipping tables over because they didn't get their gummy bears. In fury. Have you guys heard of brown sauce? Is that a thing out there? Have you ever tried it?
Like gravy?
No, not like gravy.
Brown
No, gravy's gravy.
Like-
brown sauce is brown sauce.
Well,
Like a
what's
demi-glace?
the brown sauce?
Yeah, like what's in it? Maybe it's something we call different here.
I'm not sure what it's. I think you guys may call it steak sauce, or it might be
Yes.
similar to steak sauce. It's the
A1?
sort of thing that you. I don't know what that means, but that's a motorway.
That's our
An A1 over here is a highway or a motorway.
That's our main
Not a
steak
sauce.
sauce brand. But I have tried your brown sauce, and you serve it at breakfast, correct? Or
Yes, exactly.
Yes, it is
What do you
very
think?
similar. I am not going to probably put it on my eggs at breakfast, but nothing wrong with it at all.
That's right. Last week he was telling me, what was that thing you were telling me that people, it's a hot drink that people drink at games. It's like a broth, like a beef,
Bovril.
like a beef broth or something they drink at a game, right? Yeah, I couldn't wrap my mind around that
Well,
one.
we give guys broth on the sidelines when it's cold.
But like fans drink this, it's not
Oh,
like
when fans
at
drink it.
the
Okay.
game.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't, I assume it's the greatest thing in the world because, like you said, you told me about it and it's very popular, but it's just not something that is translated over here yet.
We would be drinking hot chocolate.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
hot chocolate, coffee, that type of thing to stay warm. Or other things that maybe we won't name on a family show here like this,
Final question. Washing up, with that many mouths to feed and that much preparation to be done, have you got the biggest washing machine, dishwasher in the entire universe?
I would love to say that we do, but we have a really dedicated utility team that does an amazing job, and they actually do hand wash a lot of the dishes. We do have a washing machine, but they work hard to make sure that everything's clean and sanitized for us so that we can do what we got to do.
Fair play to them. They're far braver than me. I would be avoiding that job big time, like the plague. And guys, final question. I need to ask you about this. What was your favorite food when you came over to the UK? I know it wasn't brown
It
sauce.
definitely wasn't brown sauce. I didn't have it, but the fish and chips the hotel made for us was pretty good. The French fries were nice and crispy, just like I like them.
And I wasn't prepared for the boys to eat as many portions as they did, so I had told the team chef or the hotel chef, probably 80 will be good. They're coming from practice, fried food, and they went through at least double that. So that was definitely very popular.
And you pre-scouted the fish and chips, I assume? Everything was like you
have
do with
to.
the other stuff.
Of course.
Awesome.
Of course.
Have to, Richie.
Love that. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. It was fascinating.
Thank you for
Thanks,
having
guys.
us.
for having us.
Thank you.
Right now, it's time to jive with a jet. It's one of my favorite parts of the show. And joining us today is a man who has won a Super Bowl ring with the Philadelphia Eagles. And let's be honest, he's also trying to win one with the New York Jets. And he fits in with the vibe of the show because of his surname. Hello, defensive end Vinny Curry. Nice for you to join us when we've just been talking about nutrition. How are you, sir?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. What's going
Good
on?
man. Now, listen, I need to start off asking you about your health situation because you signed with the New York Jets in March 2021, but you didn't make your debut until we played the Packers recently, right?
Right, correct. Definitely. So what happened is I almost had a spleen rupture. My spleen was swollen, so I had to have my spleen removed. But yesterday was all worth it.
When you're going through something like that and you have to miss time away from football, when you get back out on the field like you did in the Green Bay game, do you gain a greater appreciation for it all?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Especially for me, this is going on year 11. So I was missing the game so much last year that I kept doing things to my house. I gutted the house, started doing remodeling stuff. I spent most of my time on Pinterest. It was crazy.
What do you
No, I
get?
bet. But it speaks to sort of your tenacity and your motivation to get back out there as to how much you love the sport. What was your main motivation, do you think?
I have a 2-year-old daughter. I just wanted my daughter to see me play. That was my motivation. I said, my daughter's going to see me play. She's going to see me play. She's going to see me play. I got a 5-year-old son as well. He loves the game. And all he would say is, you ain't got practice today? You ain't got practice today? He didn't quite understand.
Right.
But yesterday, during the game, my wife sent me this video of the kids. They're going crazy and everything. And I was like, man, this is why you fight to get back right here. So.
And what was it being out there? I mean, not only because, you guys had a great performance and really the defense and the defensive line specifically, I think, led the charge in that football game, but just that feeling of being out there with your guys, playing at an extremely high level. I mean, when you think back to the last couple of years and what it's been like for you, it's got to be immensely gratifying, does it not?
Oh, man. It was definitely worth it. Those guys practice super hard. Coach Wycott and get us ready each and every week. So for those guys to go out there and click on all cylinders, and I mean the whole entire group, it was just amazing to be a part of and amazing to see.
Now, I mean, as we mentioned earlier, you do have a Super Bowl ring to your name, and that's a brilliant achievement. But surely making your debut for the New York Jets after everything that you went through is right up there as well, right?
Definitely. Oh, man, that was – and at Lambeau, we can't forget that. That stadium
Historic venue.
Yeah, I'm about to say thank you. And then, to make the debut there, to leave with the win, and for us to be on this run that we on right this second, oh man, it was great. words can't describe how the emotions and how I felt yesterday.
How about the guys that you share that defensive line with? You know, I mean, it's no secret you guys don't lack talent in any way, shape, or form. And, you know, veterans like yourself, young players who are just bursting onto the scene. What about the mix of this group, and where can this group go?
Oh, man, it's sky's the limit for this group. Starting with Quentin Williams, he's having a monster season. You know, Sheldon Rankins is a monster. JFM is a monster. Carl Lawson is a monster. Jermaine and Mike, they're monsters. Bryce Huff is a monster. You know,
You a monster?
Sally's a monster. I would like to say so.
You're a monster.
Yeah.
Richie's a monster.
Yeah, I would like to say so. Shep is a monster, man. And then, you know, we got guys like, you know, Tenzel, John Marshall, you know, Bradley. They guys, they help our group out as well. You know, what you don't see during the week is how those guys, you know, get our offense ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just because they're on practice squad, those guys are high talented guys that any given moment, you know, their number could be called and they could be making plays out there for us.
Vinny, you provided me the perfect segue. Thank you so much for making my job easier, because I wanted to talk to you and I wanted you to break down what a typical week for an athlete like you entails. So, like, let's start with a Monday. The day was obviously a victory today, but what does a typical Monday look like?
Our Monday starts with, you know, with a little bit of region. So, for like myself, you know, I get in the building around 7:30. I cold tub, hot tub, shower. Now it's time to, you know, do a little jog with the team, and we do a little run just to get the soreness out, get the kinks out. Mm-hmm. Then we lift, and then after we lift, we have lunch. Then after lunch, what you do is, you know, you have the special teams meeting. For special teams meeting, you go to your unit meeting, which is offense, defense. You know, from that meeting, you go to your position meeting, and then you correct or go over the film on what you saw, what you should have done, what have you done better, you know, what to look for the following week. And then from that meeting, you is another food segment. You know, they love to feed us. So, yeah. So
we just talked to the chef and the nutritionist actually earlier today. So, yeah.
Yeah, they do a great job here. They do a great job, by the way. But you go from that meeting, and then that's your Monday. Now, your Tuesday is your day off. But for most of us, Tuesday is your day to really, you know, rather go get, you know, acupuncture, massage, hydrate to get ready for that Wednesday practice. You know, a lot of iPad film study. So then when Wednesday come, you go over everything. You try to put the game plan in, and you break it up in segments. So you go over that game plan, and then you go out to practice. And then Thursday, the next game plan. And Friday is what we like to call Fast Friday, and you polish everything up. You know, what you're going to use, what plays that I'm a little iffy on, everything like that. And then the coaches come up with the final sums, and there you go. Saturday's walkthrough, Sunday's game day.
Tuesday, your day off. Do you use it as a time to completely 100% get away from football to kind of like clear your mind, or is there always something going on related to that next opponent that you have to school up on?
Definitely got to keep watching the iPad, man. Mm-hmm. You know, but Tuesday should be dedicated to your body. You know, we do so much, you know, with the body, man. Rather, you got to take care of it though. You got to give the body a little bit of TLC. So I will. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. You know, rather it's acupunctures, then massage, then if I'm still a little stiff, go see a chiropractor. You know, but and I was taught that, you know, from the veterans from when I came into the league, and the only thing you could do is just pass that knowledge down.
Vinny, is there a particular day of the week that you look forward to or dread on the other side?
Do I look forward to? It will be here. Well, here it will be, you know, Thursday. We have pads on, so you see things a little quicker. Get a little pop, a little feel on how things are going to look, you know, on Sunday. And our look team on offense does a great job of giving us the best look, man. And I want to get them credit because they do a great job to prepare us and execute the game plan on what the coaches think we're going to see and the looks that we're going to get on Sunday.
And Richie, what he's talking about there when he says the look team, that's kind of like what they call the scout team, the practice squad. And those guys, essentially what they're doing is they're running the plays that the upcoming opponent likes to feature as they get them ready for that week's game. So when he says the look team, like all the foundation is done in practice, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, everything you see on Sunday, it's stuff that you guys have worked on during the week.
And that's why they say that it takes the team. It takes the whole entire village to put this thing together. You know, not what you just see on Sunday. It's the preparation that just begins us to where we need to be to.
I like to think of the look team as like the spies. They go and they spy on the other teams.
No.
And see what they're doing and bring it back to you.
No. Everything is recorded.
Everything is on film.
Everything is recorded.
Everything is on film.
You know, nowadays you can't use spies and those type of words in the league. You know what I mean? So everything is just recorded. Get the iPad out and you do a lot of film study and you break it down in sequence. You know, they got a talented staff here that breaks everything down and then just break down, then it's broken down even more simplified to us.
Love that. So it's basically far more credible and honest and honorable than what I just said.
Yes.
No espionage going on or anything like that.
Yeah.
What advice do you, because you said you're 11 years into this league now.
Right.
Okay, the average career is what, maybe 3-4 years,
3 or 4
if
years,
that?
yeah.
You've outlived that and then some. You've had a tremendous career.
Yes.
When young guys in this league, you know, come into the building, come into that locker room or whatnot, maybe first year, second year players, what advice do you give them as to last as long as you did in this league?
Take care of your body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, take care of your body, man. You gotta listen to the body, take care of it. It's gonna help you in the long run.
And especially coming from someone who's had the experience that you've had as well. But how does, say, a winning Sunday or having to travel for a game as well differ from, say, if you're losing or if you don't have to travel? Are there any huge differences between the result and whether or not you've got to travel and not, or do you keep things fairly regular?
Keep things fairly regular. You can't get too high, you can't get too low in this game. You know, you just got to stay the course. And our coaching staff does a great job at keeping us, you know, kind of, you know, level-headed and, you know, can't get too high, can't get too low. So,
you got a Super Bowl ring.
Right.
You won one with Philadelphia. And obviously that's the ultimate goal when you come into the league, professional sports. Can you think back to the way you were before winning that Super Bowl ring versus now you're continuing your career? You know what that feeling is like.
Right.
And to try to recapture that feeling and maybe to pass it on to some of the guys in that room who haven't had that taste yet.
Oh, man, that's the feeling we're chasing, you know. It's a couple of guys on this team that actually played in the Super Bowl. But, you know, I think that's everybody's goal, you know. Since you've been playing this game as a kid, we hope your goal is to win the Super Bowl and multiple Super Bowls, you know what I mean? So we just clicking together right now and, you know, keeping our head down and still chopping at the wood, you know, to have the opportunity to play for that Lombardi Trophy, which is the Super Bowl trophy.
Yep.
Let's talk that Sunday in a little bit more depth. Let's say it's game day and you're just about to go out on that field. You're sat in the changing room. What's your mindset? What do you do? Do you listen to music? Do you just sit and maybe meditate? What is it you're listening to? Talk us through it.
Oh, man. So I talk to my kids first. And then I just put the music on, man. I play a lot of, you know, 50 Cent, DMX, you know,
Nice.
type of music and get myself all the way pumped up and get myself ready to go. You know, I try not to be too amped, but, you know, sometimes your emotions take over and it is what it is. So.
Anybody in the locker room that you know of, like before the game when they're all listening to music, got the headphones on, or anybody that you've played with, anybody go classical music? Because, like, I mean, some people just like to chill out completely, like they just to be in a calm, full, peaceful.
Yeah.
No classical music, huh? No Beethoven or anything like that, huh?
No, I haven't came across that. I haven't came across that.
That doesn't happen.
DJ, you're trying to get your mind right before you go out and do something impressive.
Yeah.
Like before this podcast, I sit and I listen to Nas and Mobb Deep and DMX to get myself hyped to put in a performance for this pod.
I'm telling you, like, and it's nothing like. I mean, that music. You gotta whatever puts your mind in the best mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever makes you happy, like that music that makes you just super happy. Like, oh, this is my jam. That's what you want to listen to before going out and giving it your all.
Richie, I got to continue the food theme again because it's been a big subject on this show. How much do you eat before a game? Like some people don't like to eat too much.
No,
you know,
I don't.
when they
Eat,
go
I
out there?
definitely don't like to eat too much. I take a little bit of this, took a little bit of that, and because too much food, I'm definitely going to come up in one of the quarters.
All right, so like 1 o'clock game. You know, most games are at 1 o'clock.
Right.
1 o'clock game. What are you eating? When are you eating?
Probably getting some eggs, piece of chicken.
The protein.
Yep, and a little bit of rice. That's it.
How soon before kickoff? Or
I'm usually maybe a couple hours.
yeah.
Like 4 hours, 5 hours before kickoff.
Because you don't want that coming back up on you, like you said, when you're playing the game.
Exactly. So
there's some. I mean, Richie, I don't know if the soccer players, the football players over there, but unfortunately, and Vinny will tell you this, he probably played with some guys. Some guys have these weird pregame rituals that involve something we don't want to really talk about here on the show, but it involves eating too much food, and like they feel that they have to do that before a game. That is the truth.
Nah, not me. I feel like I won't be able to run.
I don't blame you.
No, I don't blame you. Vinny, finally, have you been over to the UK and played a match over here, or been over on vacation or anything like that?
No, I haven't. When the Jets went there last year, that's when I had the surgery. I was like, dang it. I wanted to go over there so bad. And the next, I did see something coming up, though. I don't know if it's true, but I did see a rumor for, I'm a big WWE fan, and I seen a rumor that they're thinking about having a pay-per-view over there for WrestleMania. So it's going to force us to go over there. So, and I'm going to have a great time, man. I heard nothing but great things about the UK. And I want to come over there and experience it.
WrestleMania UK, Richie, what do you think?
I will say, for the sake of Vinny, I'll say, yeah, I'm down for that. But in reality, I'm not. What I'll do, Vinny, instead is when you come over here, I'll introduce you to all that really good UK rap instead.
Listen, UK got some of the best drill music, so, we know some of them. Yeah. So, you gotta introduce me to it.
Good man. Love that. Vinny, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Vin.
Best wishes for the rest of the season as well. And congratulations on your comeback, because it's nothing short of phenomenal.
Man, thank you for having me, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Vinny.
No doubt.